Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Ballast Points dedicated to the craft, a podcast brought to you by our beautiful brewery. I'm Jeff Lozano, your host. And before we get into today's show, a little brew housekeeping. The holiday season is upon us. So make sure that you're following Ballast Point on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're getting Ballast Point news so that you can stay up to date with all the cool things that we have coming your way. Special releases as far as beer is concerned, special releases as far as merch is concerned, and it goes quick. So make sure that you get your hands on it before it taps out or runs out. Today, I want to take everybody to the brewhouse floor. We're having a conversation with Sean McCabe and Alex Campuzano, and we're talking production. Throughout this crazy pandemic, one of the nice things is that we haven't stopped brewing beer, we haven't stopped packaging beer, and you haven't stopped consuming it. So a lot of times we get up to the counter or we get up to the beer aisle and we reach for our favorite six pack and we really don't know everything that goes into getting that beer there. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes and there's a lot of hard workers that are making sure that you're getting exactly what you think you should be getting. And we take a lot of pride into making sure that we're sending out into the world everything that we wanted that particular beer to taste like, to look like. And so I have an affinity for the workers down there just because I have a long history with the company and I've done it all. And I know exactly how hard it can be and all the nuances that go into all the machinery. And you're going to hear all about it, at least the canning line aspect on today's episode. So enjoy it and crack open a beer. And make sure that you follow us on Instagram. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook. And let us know how we're doing. Do you like the show? Let us know. Do you want a particular guest? Do you want to hear from a particular brewery? Let us know. We would love your feedback. So give us a little follow, a little subscribe, a little thumbs up, and yeah, enjoy. Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show.
What's
Alex.
up? Thank you for having us.
Sean McCabe. Dude, I'm really excited to have you guys on. In all honesty, this will be episode 26. And the last few episodes, we've had a bunch of internal guests and we've had different people from different industries and different walks of life. But one of the things that I've been really excited about is trying to get a better understanding as to everything that goes into working a brewery. It's kind of strange that we are in a company in an industry that really is synergistic. It really is a case of if I trip, you fall. When I started working here, it was visceral. Like you could tell when there was like a hiccup somewhere, even if it was like two departments away in the way things are processed from brewer to warehouse. If there is like a hiccup anywhere, you feel it in real time. And I think that's why the job can become super fast-paced and chaotic. So, well, on the drop of a dime, right? So, Alex, you are the production supervisor here at Ballast Point, and I want you to tell your story. Sean McCabe, you're an operations manager here at Ballast Point, and I want you to tell your story. I've known you for a long time, so we spilled blood in the same mud kind of deal. But I really want everybody to kind of get a keen understanding as to everything that goes on behind the scenes when they walk into their favorite liquor store and they see a Ballast Point six pack. It didn't miraculously just spawn on that shelf. There's a lot that went into it. And so this is an opportunity for you guys to talk about the badass, jobs that you guys have and what you guys do for us. So let's raise a couple of glasses of the good stuff. Yeah, I like it. It's nice. This is a very special. Cheers. Salud. Let's take a swig. Swig, baby. Ooh, that's good. And for everybody not drinking this with us, you should feel a little FOMO. This is a rum barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout, aged 12 months in rum barrels. We took it out of our cellar specifically for you guys. It was tapped specifically for this episode, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And let's get down to the nitty gritty. We'll start with you, Alex. What got you here, man? What got you to the dance?
Well, let's see. Where should I start?
Start anywhere you want, man. I guess
starting about knowing Ballast Point is because man, this is like many moons ago. I'd say probably like 15 years ago or so, more or less. My brother was a UPS, or still is a UPS driver, and he would drop off hops boxes at the original home brew mart. And I remember him telling me he'll getting off of work and be like, "Man, we got to go check out this place. They make beer like out of the back, and then they sell it in the front." And I was like, "All right." Well, I never at the time I never thought about anything like that because I was just drinking the regular stuff that you see on football commercials and whatnot. And so he takes me to this little shop, and this is, mind you, this was Home Brew Mart when it was only like just a small area. They didn't have the expansion that was off to the right side.
Right.
Little counter, had like 10 beers on tap, and you can only get like a little shot glass taster of it. They wouldn't serve you the full pint.
Yeah,
and it just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My favorite beer at that time was Big Eye. I was like, man, this stuff is amazing. And we would go so often, like every other Saturday, and finally we saw them in Bombers, and we would just buy them by the case just to have them and whatnot. And so then time went by. I quit my other job at the post office, and I thought, like, what am I going to get into? What do I like? What do I going to feel like? What I want to do every day? So well, maybe work for the beer industry. And so just ballparking, I went online to the website, and it said they were hiring for somewhere in production. I sent in my application. 2 interviews later, I got in.
Did you apply anywhere else, or was Ballast Point like what was the situation there? Were you just trying to get into the industry, or did Ballast Point kind of like, burst that passion inside of you, that want to work in beer?
Yeah, I chose Ballast Point because that was my first true San Diego craft beer.
Attaboy. What year was this, dude?
Me getting hired or me learning about
No, you getting hired.
Oh, about 5 years ago, 5 years and some months.
Okay. Yeah, dude. So yeah, you've been here for the long haul. You got dropped into the deep end, right? About 5.5 years ago, we were in a whirlpool, man. We were all over the place. So it's one of the more interesting things about our company, right? Is that you've learned a lot in such a small amount of time.
Right. Yeah. I remember when I came in, there were only like 3 bright tanks and half the floor was empty. And just to see this facility itself, Miramar, grow with like more stuff, adding more things, adding another brew house and whatnot. It was just, I like watched this place grow. So I feel like I'm a part of this. This is like my spot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you kind of broke ground here with a lot of when you were here, I was still over at Scripps Ranch because that was still operational. And Sean, had you moved over by that time over here to start to kind of like get this Miramar situation going?
Yeah, so I bounced back and forth between Miramar and Scripps for a little bit there, a few years during my time at Ballast. I started at Scripps Ranch, as you know. I met you my first day on the job at Ballast Brewery and Scripps Ranch. And then from there, I became one of the first employees to actually work at Miramar back in the day when it was still under construction. And we were just building a production team to start packaging here at Miramar once the time came, which we did for a while. And then when everybody moved out of Scripps and pretty much headquarters became Miramar and everybody moved into the offices up here in Miramar, that's when I went back to Scripps for a while we were still cranking beer out of that facility. So I've been back and forth a little bit, obviously now full-time here at Miramar. But like Alex said, I definitely feel like there's a special place in my heart for this facility because I've seen it from the ground up, literally from nothing but just an empty building to what it is now. And there's so many things as I walk through the facility, memories and artifacts that I look at that like I can remember. Say, for example, there's a wall in the restaurant where there's 22 ounces, just blank 22-ounce bottles with Ballast Point caps on it. And me and my crew of guys back in the day, we hand crowned every one of those and slid them into the wall. And just little things like that, We helped out the construction crew when we weren't really brewing here because we were here for a long time before we actually brewed beer. But yeah, so I've been back and forth. When Alex actually started at Miramar, I was in the Scripps Ranch Brewery. So I met Alex when I came back to Miramar.
Yeah, there was a real like eye-opening experience when I came over to Miramar, and I think it was because people think that because you do a particular job at a certain scale that it's the same kind of job at the different scale, just bigger vessels or bigger instruments, and it's not like that whatsoever. It's not like translatable. It changes exponentially. So when they walk into Miramar and let's say they're in the industry and they go, oh yeah, I'm a bottling line over here at this 10-barrel brew house over here downtown. It has its own challenges. It has its own different chaos. But a facility as big as Miramar has been quite the ride, right? You guys have had a lot to fix, a lot go wrong, a lot of learning lessons, right?
Absolutely. It's been a wild ride, most definitely. It's a roller coaster for sure. And this facility has come a long way since the beginning days, and we have newer equipment, better equipment, but if you would have seen what it was like the first couple months packaging beer here at this facility, it was quite a sight to see. And yeah, everybody was learning on the job. Literally nobody had any form of training on any of this new equipment, and it was, let's fire it up and figure it out. Mm-hmm. So, but that's pretty much the name of the game, and we all had a blast doing it, put in long hours, pretty much lived here for about a year, and continues to be a wild ride even to this day.
Yeah, I like to say that like when I first started it, even to now, every day is not the same. There's always something new challenging.
By challenging, you mean something breaking down, something needs fixing.
And that's what keeps me on my toes and knowing how to fix it.
Well, why don't you tell everybody, Alex, real quick, what does your typical day look like? It always changes. It's never the same. But your line of work, the scope of what you do, what does that look like, and what is it exactly that you do down there on the floor for us?
So I normally play my my day. I plan by week, so I know what I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I delegate that to my team. I have a crew that comes in early in the morning to get things started up because it's a process to get a clean on the filler and whatnot, prepare beer for the day. When I would get messages because they start early in the morning, and I would try to guide them through like text messages and whatnot or phone calls. And by the time I get in, we would be up and going and whatnot. And I would just do rounds on the machines, checking, make sure they're running correctly. They've gotten maintenance, oil and grease and whatnot is being lubricated at all times, so we're not breaking down. Walking back and forth to check what beer we're pulling from to make sure everything's fine on the tank and everything is going fine through the pipeway to the filler. Also making sure people are happy, making sure they get their breaks, their lunches and whatnot. If they need to go to the bathroom, I'll watch this for you. And that's kind of like a ballpark gist of it.
Just to give people an idea, though. So you're talking about when you say filler and your machines, you are the last point of contact before it goes to the warehouse where it's going to go out to the public, right? So you're on the packaging. Both of you guys are a part of the packaging line. And what that means is the brewers do the brewing, and then it goes into the cellar where the cellarmen, who we'll have on at a certain point in time, monitor fermentation, and they make sure that the beer goes from a fermenting vessel into a bright tank. And that bright tank is a bright beer tank, a BBT tank. And that just holds the beer that's going to be ready to get packaged. From that point on, it gets transferred from that tank to your bottling line or canning line, your machine. And you guys have a lot on your shoulders, right? Because you guys are the last touch point before it's potentially going to get out of the building. So you need to make sure that this is looking good, tasting good, right?
Yeah, we make sure before we pull anything. Typically, I check everything the day before, because obviously every bright tank has a tank sheet indicating what beer brand is inside that vessel. To make sure the carb is on point, flavor's on point, aroma's on point. If we got all those check marks and whatnot, then we're good to go for the next day. So the crew would come in the next morning, do their cleans and whatnot, hook up their soft lines to the bottom of the tank, rip it open. Let's go. Let's bring that beer to the bowl.
Nice. What's the bowl?
It's the filler. It's a carousel filler, 40 heads. It's a high speed can line. and he can hold about a barrel and a half of beer.
Okay, cool.
So it's probably more detailed with like videos and photos and whatnot.
Right. So essentially what it is the beer will be put into this bowl, and the bowl is basically just a holding vessel that's going to start pumping the beer into the can bottle, right? And how fast is that baby going?
The fastest I've ever taken was 500 cans a minute. But we'd like to typically cruise around 410, 420.
500 cans a minute.
A minute.
That's fast, dude.
That's fast.
That's pretty fast. So ultimately, and what I've seen, because when I was doing production, man, back in when I started, it was a very different beast. It was a lot more, the user had a lot more interaction with it. Now it's a lot of automation. There's still a lot of guys that need to be paying attention and a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of automation. When you're running something at 500 cans or bottles or cans a minute and something goes wrong, which it does, you don't have a lot of time, right?
You do not have a lot of time at all. That's why for me, when I'm running it, my eyes are always moving everywhere to make sure everything's running the right way, because it has happened before where something jams up and you have like not even a second to react.
Yeah, really, because a second is, I can't do that math right now, that this is a 12.9% beer, but that's a lot. That's a lot. Like if you kind of turn your back for a minute, and then when you turn around, something has gone haywire, you know already that it's an immediate stop, or like, how do you handle when something goes wrong when it's running that fast?
You got to be on your P's and Q's on that one.
It's
always different scenario, you know. It's never the same exact thing that's happened. So you would have to realize what's going on, and then you would have to figure out how to fix it. But you have to do it fast.
Right.
Because I mean, you can lose some beer, and we don't want to do that.
Sean doesn't want that. Sean, that's a bad day for you.
And,
right?
I have to explain to Sean what happened.
Sean, what's your world like, dude? When this thing is running smoothly and when it's not? Like, what's your day look like, dude?
Yeah, most definitely. On the days that it runs smooth, you try to just sit back and enjoy it, because there's always fires that come up that you have to put out. There's always, like Alex said, it's a little bit of different things every day. We have a term around here. We like to say it's always something. You never know what it's going to be, but it's always going to be something. So we think we should have a beer named that sometime soon. But no, typically throughout my day, I'm overseeing the entire packaging department. So making sure that the bottling, canning, and kegging lines are running properly, making sure we stay on schedule so we don't put any other departments behind. Say we have certain tanks that we need to drain. If we don't get that done, we're going to affect the cellar team, because they'll have more beer that they're looking to filter into our bright tanks, which we package out of. So my main goal every day is to assist my packaging supervisors, assist Alex on his canning line, Oscar Delgadillo on the kegging line, and make sure our bottling line is running smooth. So the biggest thing is stay on schedule, make sure the brewery is flowing properly so we can get beer out the door and into our fans' hands so they can enjoy the beer that we make. Aside from that, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to ask, man. So when you're overseeing all of the packaging lines, whether it's cans, bottles, or kegs, what is the typical cadence for that? And what does your week look like as far as orders are concerned? Like, let's say we have a big tank full of fresh sculpin that needs to go out. What's the way that it gets funneled through, and what goes into bottles, what goes into kegs, and then what goes into cans?
Absolutely. We work closely with our production planning department, and they'll lay out our schedule for us, and then it's on us to go execute and make sure that we get the beer out on time. So it's all just random, I guess you could say. It's not random, but to us, it's a random schedule. Each and every week could be totally different. So there's some days where all three lines are running the same beer out of the same tank, and we might have a 1,500 barrel bright tank where the bottling line will pull maybe 400 to 500 barrels, kegging will do about the same, and canning will do about the same. Or sometimes it's split up to where kegging will do the entire tank, and the canning line will be running maybe 3 other brands of beer in a day. And maybe they're just running 50 barrels of, say, Bonito Blonde, maybe 100 barrels of Sculpin, and then maybe say 30 barrels of Longfin or something like that. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. And when our lines switch brands and change beers, we need to make sure that we have the correct sanitation processes happening in between beers. So coordinating our CIP skid usage, making sure the cellar is not going to be on it when we need it, just to make sure the flow of everything goes right. Because there's a lot of people in the brewery. Everybody has their agenda for the day. Everybody is very busy. Nobody has much spare time. So it's all about coordinating the entire process and allowing everybody to do what they need to do smoothly, and staying on schedule for us. So
communication is key.
Communication is key.
Yeah, because so one of the things that I noticed as I've kind of like done a few different jobs for the company in the time that I've been here is that there's certain bottlenecks and there's certain departments that when they have a hiccup, it's ultimately going to slow things down. But then there's certain departments that when they have a hiccup, it's a lot more of a of an issue, right? And because you guys are kind of at the beck and call of the seller, and then they're kind of depending on the brewers, and then the brewers are just depending on raw materials and orders and stuff like that. How quickly can something go wrong? Like you come in and you have everything ready to go, and then on the next phone call you get is you have to do a switcheroo because it takes a lot of time. What's the turnaround time when something like that happens, when something's not going according to plan and things need to change?
It's all situational. There can be a quick audible or there can be a dead in the water audible, depending on what we're talking about. It could be a production schedule change where we're planning to set up for one beer. Something happened along the line and we need to get into another beer. So everybody just has to shift their mindset, swap everything out, get ready to get into the next beer. Or there could be mechanical failures and we might need a certain part that we have to go get, and it might be available right down the street, or sometimes we have to order it and it might not be available to arrive to our hands for maybe a few days or so. So like I said, it's always something, it's always different. We never know really what each day is going to give to us, but
for sure. It sounds like a mess. It sounds like a mess, dude. It's not anything that I'm envious of. Alex,
organized chaos. For sure.
Organized chaos, dude. There's a method to the madness, right? So Alex, you work primarily on our canning line.
Right.
And everybody's seen some sort of Instagram snippet of a cool little, double helix looking thing as cans are kind of spiraling into the machine and stuff like that. But nothing's really, really explained unless like you're on a tour. And even that, you don't really go into the nuts and bolts of it. When you're looking at your machine and all the little different spots on this roller coaster on this little assembly line, can you walk us through that really quick? Like where it goes from the start to when it gets spit out with beer in it and ready to go into a package?
All right. Okay. Yeah. I'll start with the beginning. So we get our can stacks from Ball. Each can stack contains 8,169 empty cans. So that can stack will be loaded onto a machine and it's swept off layer by layer. And the layers would go into a single filer funnel, and then it will go to a downshoot. They're still empty. They have no cap on them. They go into a rinser to sanitize the inside of the can to remove any debris, water, etc. So the can is completely clean. They continue down. They go into the filler. The filler is a 40 head filler. So it rotates. It's rotating as it's going. The can gets filled. It comes off, goes onto a transfer. And at that point, it goes into another machine called the seamer, which puts the top end of the can on the can itself and seams the outside, creating the beer to stay fresh inside. From there on, it goes out into a rinser, water to remove any beer suds from the outside of the can.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it turns upside down into a spiral. So the bottom of the can is facing up, which puts the date code of the batch number, the day it was canned, and the time. It goes into another spiral face up, and goes on to multiple conveyors, which leads to our packer, our Douglas Spectrum, which puts them into the 6-pack carrier. After that, the carrier, some people don't notice, but there's a date code on the top left corner, which tells the same thing, what beer it is, when it was packaged, and the batch number. From there, they go into the tray maker. So you'll have 4 6-packs into one tray. Then on there, it goes into more conveyors and up into our machine called a palletizer, which palletizes 100 cases per pallet. And then from there, the forklift driver will pick it up, wrap it, put an information sticker on it, and then hand it off to warehouse if it goes in on truck or it's going to go into the cold box.
Woo! It's a lot of stops, dude.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of stops on that assembly line, because here's one of the big issues, right? You can't see inside of a can. You can see inside of a bottle, so you could see if the machine is not filling properly. How do you guys inspect on your line for making sure that we have what's in there is what's intended to be there as far as volume?
Oh, as far as volume, we have a machine called a Filtech. The bottling line also has one too, but it detects with a laser beam to see the right fill height. And if it has the correct fill height, it'll just pass on through. If it's a little bit under, it'll kick it out.
Ooh, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope, dude.
It's quite a sight to see when everything's running properly.
Sean, do you remember when we were at Scripps and we were basically by hand doing quick inspections, because this thing was running fast, dude, and you'd have 2 packaging guys, not a packaging machine. We would have to do a quick, I'm talking quick, analytical kind of basically takedown of the bottle, right? We'd have to check the cap. We had to check the neck label. We had to check the actual label, and then we had to check the fill line, right? And the fill line was is this a low fill or not? We kind of knew if it was below a certain amount of in the bottleneck, it was a low fill, and if it was there or above, then it was good to go. You guys have lasers to do that. That's pretty dope.
Yeah. So back then, me and you, Jeff, we were the fill tech. Now here at this facility, we have the fill tech that'll automatically do that for us.
That wasn't on our cards.
I know,
that one, dude.
Yeah,
that would have looked dope on our cards.
And not only were we the fill tech, we were also the case packer. We were the palletizer, the pallet wrapper. So we did everything manually back then, which we now have automated machines for. But sometimes I like to say, that Scripps Ranch line, we had the most reliable case packer you could find, the most reliable palletizer, and all that, because when we were doing it, we would just keep cranking it out and never stop. We wouldn't run into mechanical issues because we were just doing it by hand.
Dude, it's insane. It's insane that kind of intimacy that we have with our product. I think that's pretty cool. I think people should think about that a little bit more often when they're looking at a bottle and they're not interrupted by anything, or they're looking at their can and it's full of beer and it has that nice pop to it and everything's nice about it. Our goal is to not interrupt you with any flaw, right? Like if we're going to be a talking point of your experience, it should be that, holy shit, this is really good. And that's all you guys. You guys are the last kind of checkpoint in this whole journey, from the brewer making sure that we're hitting the proper gravities and that we're making the right beer, to the cellar guys who are making sure that we are producing the right amount of alcohol and we are filtering it, if it's a filtered beer, appropriately, and sending it the way that it's supposed to be sent into the bright tank. You guys are the point at which, if it enters the market poorly, it was like you guys needed to catch it, and that's a heavy burden, and that's why you guys are so good at what you guys do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where it goes back on making sure the checklists are properly filled out, so we know if we can pull beer or if we can't pull beer. A majority of the time, everything's on point.
Yeah, you guys have a pretty good relationship with the quality team, right?
We do, yes. We work with the quality team each and every day, and we have an amazing quality team here that definitely supports us just as we support them, but they definitely have our backs and make sure that anything coming off our packaging lines, any beer coming out of our tanks being packaged into our cans, bottles, or kegs is top quality. So that's what we are definitely all about here, and we never take quality lightly. We'll always stop We'll always not package. The most important thing is making sure that we send out the best quality beer that we can send out, because that's what Ballast Point is all about. And we don't want to ever cross that line and never, go against our motto on that. So
for sure, dude. That's what we got. 300 touch points, bro. We can't be slipping. What Sean, for you, dude, I don't know if you even want to talk about this, but out of all the packaging spots, right, the packaging formats, what is the biggest headache for you in a brewery? What would you assume is the biggest headache? Is it the canning line, is it the bottling line, or is it the kegging line, assuming that they're running normal, which is breaking pretty often?
I would say most likely the bottling line. And then second place would be kegging, but when we're running smooth on kegging, it runs smooth and it runs like a champ. But bottling just has so many moving parts, so many moving pieces. You have the actual label to put on each and every bottle, while a keg and a can do not have labels. You have 6-pack carriers, master cartons, and you're dealing with glass. So glass is a whole nother beast compared to the aluminum can or a keg shell.
Right.
So
they
many
blow up, dude. They blow up once in a while, and it's a normal part of the game. A lot of people forget about that when they're walking through the brewery, man. There's like on a tour and everyone's just hanging out and there's in their sneakers and stilettos, and we're like, hey, put on those safety glasses. This is still a production facility, man, and we have a pretty good control of everything that's happening. But once in a while, you hear that pop, and you go, like, what was that? It was like, well, it's a bottle, man. Glass happens, and it pops once in a while. So the bottling line is quite a feat to see when you're watching it in real time. How fast is that bottling line that we have here?
Our bottling line, we run it at 350 bottles a minute. So
now that's insane, right? For a bottle filler.
It's a good speed, especially for what we've had in the past. Yes, it depends though. It's all relative, Coca-Cola, they're probably running about 1,000 bottles a minute. But yeah, 350 bottles a minute is definitely cranking pretty good, without a doubt.
And it's kind of the similar process on the bottling line, right? Where it goes through the same, it has a rinse, it has a purge, where we inject, what is it, CO2? Or what are we injecting into it right now to take the oxygen out of our bottles? CO2?
CO2.
Right, yes. It's very similar to the canning line as far as all the stops along the way. I guess the only real difference on the bottling line would be you have the labeler.
Oh, yeah. And that could be a mess, right? Because you're dealing with a package of labels that are getting brushed on, right? Glue brushed on the bottle. And we're making sure that they're all straight and even and correct.
Exactly, yeah. So kind of going back to what you were saying, how we would, just by the human eye, quality check our bottles before we packed them and taped up that box to have them sent out. I remember when I was doing that, packaging each bottle with you, I'd always think, does this beer look exactly like a beer you would expect to see on the shelf at a grocery store or a liquor store?
There you go.
And, so that's pretty much the same standard we go by to this day, even on the bottling line here at Miramar. Even though we're not able to hand check every bottle, we have our equipment that's making sure we're doing that, and we're checking as often as possible. So
yeah, well, dude, you know what, man? It could get monotonous. That those different packaging lines can get monotonous, even on the most chaotic of days where things are surprising you left and right. One of the things to remember, one of the things that I wanted to kind of instill into my own mind when I was on the packaging line is how important it was to really take that particular point in the process super serious, because that's what we're doing, man. We make beer. At the end of the day, what you and your team are helping to facilitate is someone's good time, and we're making a high quality product, right? So when somebody goes into their favorite liquor store and they're looking for something to celebrate, and they're looking for some beer to pick up for their next big day, whether it's their best friend's wedding, or whether they're going to take it to a family reunion, the last thing that you want is to be responsible for them not liking what they chose, right? Where they get to this party, or they get to give their the groom to be his 6-pack of beer. You don't want to be interrupted by a crooked neck label or a low fill can or anything like that. What we're doing here is we're just trying to stay low key, just good. We don't want to take anything away from the moment. We just want to add on to the moment. And I know that's the way that you and your team look at it. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Dude, the question is, bottles or cans? Alex?
Cans all day.
Oh, what? Why?
You could take them anywhere. Where you want to take them to the park. I mean, if you can drink at a beach, you could take them to the beach.
Ooh, yeah, I do like drinking at the beach.
See,
I like
there you
drinking
go.
at the beach. And dude, you know what? As much as it's been kind of a one-way argument where when we're talking about bottles and cans and the beer integrity, I think if you have a reliable filler and you have all the processes set in place, can is the superior option, just because it doesn't get hit by light and for a number of different reasons. But I like myself a bottle. I don't know where it's coming from. I like that pop. I like grabbing that bottle opener, popping that bottle. I enjoy that. A lot of times I reach for a bottle, even though I know that it's probably tasting better out of the can. That's me, dude.
True.
But you can't take it to the pool and you can't take it to the beach. So you're right.
Yeah.
Dude, how has, and this kind of goes for each of you guys. We'll start with Sean first. How has working for a brewery like us, from when you began, if you can remember that, because it's been so long, how have you evolved as a beer drinker or a lover of craft?
I have definitely highly evolved my beer palate since starting at Ballast Point.
You're a snob now, dude.
I definitely don't consider myself a beer snob, but working for Ballast has certainly taught me a vast amount of knowledge about beer. That's for sure. The reason why I started at Ballast was I was a craft beer fan, but I didn't even begin to understand the amount of different facets that go into beer until I was actually working for Ballast Point and living, living the beer life. I've been able to have the privilege to take beer tasting classes, get beer tasting certificates from some of the best, beer tasting teachers in the whole world. All thanks to working for Ballast Point. I've been able to try almost every single type of beer style you can imagine, from the most simplest beer to the craziest beer to a beer you never thought a brewery would ever make. So yeah, I don't know how else to put it, but Ballast Point has definitely shown me the world of beer that I don't think I would have experienced in any other place, really.
How about you, Alex? How have we ruined your palate forever?
Well, I wouldn't say ruined. I think it just opened me up a lot, because I would, like, back in the day, go to the liquor store and just like pick a random 22 ounce. Like, I don't even know where these guys are from, but let's just try and see what it is. And then coming to work here and like expanding my mind of like, oh, there's different styles of beer. There's barrel aged beer. There's sour beer. There's like Mexican lager beer and whatnot. And so it opened up my mind more. Like, if someone isn't a beer drinker, I would like at least try to find a style of beer for that person. They'll be like, okay, that's pretty good.
Attaboy, yeah. Yeah, that's the gateway beer, right? Where everybody that says that they don't like beer, you're like, you do. You just don't know which one you like yet.
You haven't tried your style. You haven't found your style yet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the cool things about us, man. We have a portfolio that's pretty broad. I mean, we have a broad spectrum array of beers, anywhere from a super crisp light lager, Helles lager, to a 12.9% Russian Imperial stout. Get out of here. Like, and everything in between. We got chili beers. We got beers with honey in them. We got sour beers. We got everything. And not just us. I know that San Diego has, and different pockets in the United States have really become these epicenters of beer diversity, and it's really showing everybody around the world that everyone likes beer. Unless you don't drink at all, there's a beer for you out there. And one of the best things that you can potentially happen to you is bump into somebody that works at a brewery. They'll help you out, right?
Mhm.
Dude, I'm so happy about the team that we've assembled here at Ballast Point, and like you guys and your teams, because that's hard work. This is not like, this place is not a walk in the park. So many people have this misconception that working at a brewery is like that episode in Simpsons. You remember that episode in Simpsons where everyone's just in short shorts and everyone's just singing, and they work at a brewery, a Duff or something like that, and everyone's just having a blast and everyone's drinking. And it's like, no, dude, it's not like that. It's a production facility, and we manufacture high quality product that we always have to keep an eye on and make sure that we're producing. Was that a big shock to you guys coming into the industry? How much it wasn't what you might have imagined?
I would say no. I didn't have any preconceived notions. I really had no knowledge of how a brewery worked. I just knew that I wanted to get my foot in the door, specifically here at Ballast Point, but in a brewery in general. And I just learned from there. I was used to hard work. I was used to manual labor already. So I was just happy to be here and ready to do my thing.
Dang, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I was willing to learn, and I'm a hard worker, and I never say no. So I would always want to get the job done.
Yeah. And there's a reason why you guys are still here. And there's a reason why everybody looks up to you. I look up to you guys and know that, like, we have assembled the hardest working team in the room. Like, we're the hardest working guys in the room right now, because it takes a lot, man. It takes a lot to once you get to a certain level, you have to stay at that level or surpass it. And we're always on the mission to surpass it. So we always raise the bar on ourselves, and it's a learning lesson. And it's like trial by fire every month, because we're trying to up the ante, and then we have to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that that's the new norm, and then we have to evolve. How has this whole COVID thing really hit you guys down there, man? How hard, or what changes have you guys seen throughout this whole mess?
Well, for us, the only changes have been making sure we take the proper safety precautions, make sure everybody's following our procedures so everybody can stay safe while we come to work every day. None of us have worked from home throughout this whole process. You know, we've come to the brewery each and every day. So it's been business as usual on our part, aside from everybody wearing masks and doing all the normal stuff that I'm sure everybody out there is very familiar with at this point. And aside from that, it's just we miss everybody in the brewery, everybody that's not working on the actual production floor. We miss everybody in the offices. We miss kind of that hustle and bustle and just the camaraderie, because it's very different. There's a lot less people in the building every day. We only have people that absolutely need to be here in the brewery each and every day. So it's definitely a change. It's a different vibe in the brewery, but for us down on the floor, everybody's still enjoying their time together. We all get along. We all crack jokes. We all make the best of our time here. So we definitely still enjoy coming to work each and every day, but there are some aspects that we miss, which I'm sure everybody has with everything that's been going on in the world. It would be nice to get back to some normalcy, but
I would say that production has kicked up as far as like cans and bottles. Keg kind of decreased a little bit, but during this pandemic, we were told to ramp up a little bit more than normal with cans and bottles. I guess people wanted to, well, since kegs, you can't, the bars are closing and whatnot.
Right.
So people would want cans and bottles. They just go to their local liquor store or supermarket.
Look, man, people want to booze it up. It's crappy for everybody. And what we are making here is a lot more than beer. We're making crappy times less crappy with with our product. What people want right now is relaxation, and people want to enjoy the time that they have because they don't know what next week's going to bring or where they're going to be particularly in their gig. And they reach to us. And it's been so beautiful kind of hearing all the stories and seeing everybody like on the social platforms tagging Ballast Point and tagging a different can or a different bottle. Because I know that they're reaching to us because, hey, man, they're making a conscientious decision with their dollar right now. Nobody knows what's going to come next month. So they're being very careful with how they vote and what they want and how they purchase commodities like us. And the fact that we have had a surge or an uptick in sales means that what we're doing is working. What we're making is good. It's world class, and we're consistent. And people are hopefully enjoying their I don't know, this whole roller coaster. Maybe they're enjoying it a little bit more because of you guys.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, they are. Hell yeah, man, they are, and it really comes down to your guys' teams. If you guys drop the ball, if I drop the ball, if anybody here drops the ball, like I said from the beginning, we're so synergistic as a company that it ruins it. You know, it's you're pulling the card. You know, those card towers. You're pulling a card from the baseboard. Any department can do that, and the fact that we're all in this together, and you guys are the front lines, man. In all honesty. You guys, Sean, you said it. You guys have not stopped showing up. The demand has been there, and you guys have been there to meet the demand. And I can't thank you guys enough because I'm directly affected by what you guys are working so hard to do when you guys come in and you bust your humps to make sure that you guys are draining these tanks and these beers are good and they continue to go out as scheduled. So, I mean, not just me. I think everybody has a little bit of a thank you to give you guys specifically in your teams. You guys are shit. You guys are, man, and I'm glad to know that you guys are looking at it the way that you guys look at it. You guys are kind of making or continuing to make this industry fun. So that's it, man. What we're making is beer. We're not putting bases on the moon, people. We're making beer, and we're hoping that you enjoy it. But it's not easy.
But it's fun.
Oh hell yeah, it's fun. It is a good time, and everybody. I don't know. Do you guys get that where when everybody asks you what you do, if anybody asks you what you do, and you say, "Oh yeah, I work for Ballast Point," you see it like their pupils dilate. They go like, "What? You work where? You work for a brewery?" And you don't go down the path of saying, "Oh yeah, you think my filler tube broke down yesterday, so let me tell you about that." No, you go like, "Yeah, you know what? It is pretty rad. It is fun. We are making some cool stuff with cool people."
Exactly.
It's a trip when you wear like clothing and whatnot, like sweaters or shirts, and then, like for me, like I just went out of town and I was wearing my gear, and they'd be like, "Oh, Ballast Point," and I was like, "Yeah." Well, what's your favorite beer? And then that's how you spark up the conversation. Like, "Oh, well, I work there."
Yeah, dude. It's definitely an icebreaker, and it really kind of shows you what we're doing, right? When you have a doctor, a lawyer, or somebody that's on that particular tier, and they go, "Whoa, man, you guys have the dream job," or you guys are living the life, and you go, "Really? I thought you guys were living the life, but thanks. Yeah, I do work for a brewery, and we do make beer, and that's what we chose to do with our lives, and we're passionate about it, and it shows in our product." So, hey, man, listen, you guys, thanks. I talk to you guys all the time, and I know what you guys do down there, and all of us know what you guys do down there, and we all appreciate it. But I think everybody should know that it takes a village, and what we're doing is creating something that hopefully is impacting every single walk of life, whether you like beer, whether you love beer, or whether you showed up at a backyard barbecue and somebody brought a 6-pack of Sculpin and it's your first time drinking that beer. We're hoping that what you're drinking is exactly what we intended to sell you, right?
Exactly.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, well, listen, guys.
Before we get off of here, I want to have a virtual cheers. Congrats on your new baby boy, Jeff.
Dude, thanks, man.
Oh, congrats, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, thanks, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And hold on. Don't take that sip yet. Don't take that sip yet. Congratulations to you too, Sean.
Thank you, my friend.
On the baby to be.
Much appreciated.
And Alex, I'm not sure about you, but I know you have a couple. I don't know if there's another on the way.
I got 2 that I know of.
All right, cool. Well, cheers to that, baby. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Salud, caballeros. Thank you, guys. All right, guys. That was amazing. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share the rest of our episodes on Ballast Point's YouTube page, channel, whatever. You can follow us on ballastpoint.com, Instagram, Facebook, all that jam. I'll see you next time, and thanks for tuning in.